Welcome back. There may be some respites for several states of the Federation which are unable to pay salaries since the federal government approved the payment of $2.1 billion in action that has generated controversy within the political sphere. The monies, which are seen as a relief to many, is said to have come from the company income and education tax from the Nigerian liquefied natural gas, in the backdrop of the statement made by the president that the nation's treasury is empty. The All Progressives Congress today asked the federal government to approve the past payments from the company, which the party says is probably over $4 billion. In a statement by the National Publicity Secretary, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, today the party said, in addition, dividend payments totaling over $4.7 billion was paid to the federal government between 2004 and 2009, out of which only over $127.8 billion was credited to the federal government's independent accounts with J.P. Morgan, leaving a balance of over $4 billion. The question to ask, therefore, are why all the past taxes and dividends were neither fully paid into the Federation accounts nor shared by the three tiers of government, and what happened to the funds. The party asked this and other recent actions of President Muhammadu Buhari is bringing transparency into governance in Nigeria, as it is helping to plug financial leakages. Alhaji Mohammed went further to ask the federal government that as part of the investigation, the PDP must be asked where it kept the $5.5 billion, which it said was a dividend paid to the federal government by the NLNG before the 29th of May handover. Well, the People's Democratic Party has reacted to the APC claims on the NLNG tax payments and bailout funds, describing it as falsehood. In a statement by the Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Pt.3, this evening said that whatever taxes paid from the NLNG go through the Federal Inland Revenue Service and is recorded as part of the income of the federal government. The party clarifies further that the NLNG had been on a 10-year tax haven until 2014, and says right from the tenure of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, successive governments have never shared nor tampered with the cumulative dividends over the years. Mr. Metu went further to say, it is imperative to note that by the end of the tenure of President Goodluck Jonathan, NLNG dividends had risen to cumulative $5.6 billion and not a single cent was ever taken from the funds. The PDP then advised the APC government that it is time for governance and the current administration should face the challenges thereof. President Muhammadu Buhari last week ordered a 50% pay cut, including that of his vice president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. But that action may be with some legal implications. A professor of law and chairman of the Human Rights Commission, Professor Chidi Odinkalu, says neither man has the power under the law to cut their salaries. Speaking on our political program, Professor Odinkalu said the right to cut salaries lies in the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission.
This idea of governors, the president, the vice president slashing their salaries, I think it is alluring. I do think lots of people would welcome it. But I also would suggest I'd caution about something. There's got to be a process here. The salaries of the president, the vice president, and governors are not set by them. And they actually don't have the powers under the law to cut their own salaries. That is done by the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation, and Fiscal Commission. The president cannot sit down and say, I cut my salary. No, he lacks those powers. Actually, there's no law in Nigeria that empowers the president to do that. There's no law in Nigeria that empowers a governor to say, I cut my salary. What would happen is this. They can collect their salary and decide to donate 50% of that back to the state. Now, to do that, we need a system to get that money and be able to use it for the public purpose. So let's not, in the name of populism here, do something that is actually not authorized by law. Because a democratic system is a system of laws. And we do not elect presidents and governors to do things that the law does not authorize them to do. And I'm quite clear about this. I've looked into the matter, and I'm absolutely certain that no governor has the powers to cut their salary by 50%. They've got to go through the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission.
And one way to fix the current economic problems confronting Nigeria is by removing subsidy on petroleum products. That's a view of financial expert Mr. Bismarck Rwani, who believes the subsidy only exists in theory and has no practical positive relevance on the average Nigerian. Mr. Rwani says that another way of plugging leakages in the system is by providing more money for the government to meet the needs of the nation.
First and foremost, if subsidies are removed, the import bill of imported petrol, which you are now bringing in 45 million liters a day, will drop to what our actual use is, which is about 12 to 15 million liters a day. So your bogus import bill will drop by at least 20%, and that money will be enough to support the naira. Secondly, the state governments will have more money to pay salaries. They won't need a bailout because these subsidies are reverse taxes. Once you remove it, that's what's going to happen. In any case, today, if you go around anywhere in Nigeria, people are buying petrol for 130, 140. So subsidy is a theoretical illusion. Nobody is paying. By the time you spend 3 hours staying by the jerry can and doing that, you've actually, the effective cost to you, apart from the financial cost, when you put your hours put together, you are spending 140, 150. Right now, because it's late, we have to make some adjustments. So the currency has to be adjusted.
It's a tough political decision.
It's not it is what you have to do. You see,
it's a mouth, but then
look, it is during war that generals.
What about the effect on the average Nigerian industry?
The average Nigerian is already wiped out anyway. So look, it's queuing up there, buying petrol, buying diesel, and all that. So what you need to do, what will happen is that he will be retrieved. The guy is going to have enough resources.
While corruption remains a problem to national development in Nigeria, the absence of good governance and good leadership poses more threats and impedes economic growth. This was the thrust of a corporate roundtable session at the 2015 edition of the Lagos Leadership Conference. Speakers at the conference believe that Nigeria is currently experiencing a self-inflicted economic downturn as a result of depending solely on oil, adding that the downturn may continue unless the right decisions are taken to diversify the economy.
If we get to a point where a lawmaker knows that he or she can be recalled by his or her constituents, then there will be reduction. It's part of impunity that if you think that whatever you do, you can get away with it, nothing will happen. It doesn't help the system.
But let us understand that you did it through the right ways. You did it by producing. Not because I'm in a privileged position and therefore I start to extort money from you. I think that's wrong. If you get well through the productive sector by creating, I think you can be encouraged. But when you get well through corrupt practices, I think we need to do it.
The ban on public begging and street hawking in Kaduna State has been met with protests by physically challenged and hawkers who have had a hard time fending for themselves. On its part, the state government has defended its decision, saying its action is purely out of concern for the security of its citizens, as the tactics employed by Boko Haram involves conniving with the beggars, a connection rejected by the aggrieved groups. Our community report tonight looks at the situation in Kaduna, where safety and rights are at loggerheads.
The chant by this crowd is that of defiance. They are challenging laws that infringe on their rights as disabled people seeking a means of survival in the wake of abandonment from the same society they beg alms from. The Kaduna state government has served quit notice to Wall Street beggars, and they are protesting the order. The blind leading the blind, children tending to those placed under their care, and the crippled move around the streets of Kaduna, crying out to anyone who cares to listen. They are incensed that the government will link them with the Boko Haram sect, an accusation they say will not be taken lightly.
We come to defend ourselves, and also we come to escape ourselves. So we went, Malam Nasir ratified the governor of Kaduna State to eradicate this instruction, what we say, you don't want to beggar, you don't want to see any beggar person, whether mosque or station or garage or the flat where the people that stand. So you don't want to see any beggar person at all. Instead, we are indigenous of Kaduna State.
And now that everybody says that he's thinking that some of their people are now being used as terrorists, that they are not going to take it easy. Now they gave him 3 days to withdraw that statement of calling them or trying to make an allegation of them, identifying them with somebody that has something that has to do with Boko Haram.
Joining in the protest are street hawkers who also come under the government's radar.
They say we should stop, nobody should steal, nobody should do, and they don't find any work for us to do. And now we're here managing ourselves, trying to work so we get what we breakfast. So now the government now is trying to drive us away. Now we don't even know how to do. They should give us work so that we'll stop this thing that we are doing.
In its defense, the authorities say protecting life is its topmost priority. And since Boko Haram members cannot be differentiated from beggars on the streets, they have to go.
If you look at the way and manner the people that are carrying out these attacks are operating, they are always looking for soft targets. They are equally looking for a place where where it's crowded and congestion, so to say. So the action of government is this. From now henceforth, government decided to ban all forms of hawking and begging in the state. It is essentially for security reasons. It is basically to protect lives and property.
But assures they will not be left comfortless.
The government have made it very, very clear that he will provide enabling environment for them to access education, to access health care system, and other social amenities. In fact, they should understand and see reason with government. As painful as this action could be to them, the benefit is greater than the pain.
But it appears the beggars have an idea of what the law says about their rights as citizens.
I'm aware that there is no provision in Nigerian constitution that stops begging. So you see, maybe if they eventually go to court, it's the court that will interpret such case. But to me, I have not found anything in the constitution that stops begging. So maybe with such development, they may be able to take the governor to the court for interpretation of such. Yes, by stopping them from movement now. Freedom of movement is part of constitutional provision. Once you stop somebody from moving from one place to another, you have infringed his constitutional right, his fundamental right as citizens of the country.
A lot has been promised, and a lot is expected from the promises made. And as the recent spate of attacks has forced the government to re-strategize, it should be careful not to push those they seek to protect into the arms of those they are protecting them from.
And now to the arts. Joe Amoni is an artist with creativity and experience. He was groomed in his early years under the legendary Bruce Onogbepeya, who was his art teacher at St. Gregory's College, Obalende, Lagos. Art Review tonight looks at Amoni's works exposed in this exhibition titled Pieces of Me, a show of his artistic expression spanning over a period of years with influences from Nok, Ife, Igbo, Benin and Yoruba kingdoms.
Artists can sometimes be extremely difficult to understand, especially when they are in work mode. Most are perceived to be eccentric introverts with warped views of happenings around them. But the truth is that one needs to understand the way an artist thinks before passing judgment, and that will certainly help an art lover unravel the mysteries behind Pieces of Me, an exhibition by Joe Amoni. He is an artist with diverse styles. Little wonder as he honed his skills under the watchful eyes of a veteran, Dr. Bruce Onogbepeya. But he is definitely not the average Joe, carving, drawing, painting and sculpting a niche for himself. Pieces of Me is an attempt by the artist to show his diverse styles for the viewer to understand where he is coming from or going. And there is a lot to see, from works done in acrylic on canvas pencil drawing, beadwork, metal foil, mixed media and bronze. These artists has relayed the influence, the motifs and folklore from the cultures of the Benin, Igbo, Nok and Yoruba kingdoms. So when you are tempted to pass quick judgment on an artist's character, take a look in the mirror. You might see something interesting.
Next on the news at 10, defending champion Novak Djokovic beats Roger Federer in 4 sets to win his 3rd Wimbledon and 9th Grand Slam title. We'll have details in sports news. Please stay with us.